In the 13th century before the Common Era, the ancient world stood balanced on the edge of unprecedented power. Great kingdoms had risen beyond the scale of city-states and tribal coalitions, forging empires that stretched across deserts, mountains, and seas. Kings no longer ruled only a river valley or a single plain. They commanded networks of vassals, trade routes, and subject peoples whose loyalty was secured through force, diplomacy, and fear. It was an age when bronze weapons glittered beneath the sun, when chariots thundered across open ground, and when the will of the gods was believed to march beside armies into battle. At the center of this world stood two colossal rivals, drawn inexorably toward one another by ambition, geography, and destiny: Egypt and the Hittite Empire. The Battle of Kadesh did not erupt suddenly, nor was it a momentary clash born of chance. It was the culmination of generations of rivalry, shifting alliances, and contested borders in a region that formed the beating heart of the ancient Near East. Long before swords were raised and chariot wheels carved deep ruts into the soil along the Orontes River, the fate of Kadesh had been written by geography itself. The city stood where the great trade arteries of the Levant converged, commanding access between Anatolia, Mesopotamia, and Egypt. Whoever held Kadesh controlled not merely a fortified settlement, but the flow of wealth, grain, timber, metals, and political influence across the eastern Mediterranean world. To the Egyptians, Kadesh was both a symbol and a strategic necessity. The new kingdom, revitalized after centuries of internal weakness, had transformed Egypt into a military power that projected its influence far beyond the Nile. Pharaohs of the 18th and 19th dynasties marched their armies into Canaan and Syria, establishing garrisons and extracting tribute from cities that once stood beyond Egyptian reach. These northern territories were not colonies in the modern sense, but they were vital buffers against invasion and indispensable sources of prestige. To lose them was to appear weak, and weakness in the ancient world invited destruction. To the Hittites, Kadesh represented something equally vital: security and survival. Rising from the highlands of Anatolia, the Hittite Empire had expanded aggressively southward, absorbing former rivals and imposing its authority over a patchwork of states that stretched toward the Levantine coast. The collapse of the Mitanni kingdom left a vacuum that both Egypt and Hatti rushed to fill. Kadesh became the keystone of Hittite power in Syria, a fortress anchoring their southern frontier. To surrender it would expose the empire's underbelly and invite Egyptian dominance deep into territory the Hittites considered their own. Thus, Kadesh became more than a city. It became a line drawn across the ancient world, a place where two imperial visions collided. The Egyptians saw themselves as divinely ordained rulers of order, bringing stability to lands beyond the Nile. The Hittites viewed themselves as masters of diplomacy and war, heirs to a tradition of treaties, alliances, and disciplined military power. Neither empire could yield without sacrificing honor, influence, and the perception of supremacy that sustained their rule. Into this charged landscape stepped Ramesses II, one of history's most ambitious rulers. Young, energetic, and acutely aware of his legacy, Ramesses ascended the Egyptian throne determined to outshine his predecessors. He was not content merely to inherit an empire. He sought to define an era. Monuments rose at his command across Egypt, carved with scenes of triumph and devotion. Temples bore his name in colossal inscriptions, and statues portrayed him as both god and warrior. Yet monuments alone could not secure eternal glory. Only victory on the battlefield, especially against a rival as formidable as the Hittites, could cement his place among the great pharaohs of history. Opposing him was Muwatalli II, king of the Hittites, a ruler no less capable and no less determined. Unlike Ramesses, whose image was broadcast in stone and relief, Muwatalli governed from a more restrained tradition, emphasizing strategic calculation over theatrical display. He understood that Egypt's strength lay in its confidence and momentum, and he resolved to break both. Rather than retreat from confrontation, Muwatalli prepared carefully, gathering allies and positioning his forces with precision. Kadesh, with its river crossings and open plains, offered the perfect stage for a decisive encounter. The armies that marched toward Kadesh represented the pinnacle of Bronze Age warfare. Thousands of infantrymen, hardened by long campaigns, advanced alongside elite chariot corps whose speed and power had transformed warfare across the Near East. These were not disorganized mobs, but professional forces, drilled in formation, sustained by logistics, and inspired by religion. Soldiers believed their gods watched from the heavens, judging their courage and granting victory to the worthy. Every advance carried ritual meaning, every retreat risked divine displeasure. Yet despite their discipline and preparation, both sides marched into uncertainty. Intelligence was imperfect, communication slow, and deception a constant threat. The world beyond the battlefield was vast, and even the greatest kings could be misled by false reports and unseen movements. At Kadesh, strategy and chance would intertwine in ways neither Ramesses nor Muwatalli could fully control. What unfolded on the plains near the Orontes River would echo across millennia, not because it produced a clear victor, but because it revealed the limits of power. The Battle of Kadesh exposed how even the mightiest empires could be checked, how ambition could collide with reality, and how survival sometimes mattered more than conquest. It demonstrated that war, no matter how grandly conceived, could end not in triumph, but in balance, exhaustion, and negotiation. This battle would become immortalized in stone and song. Its story carved into temple walls and recited as proof of divine favor and royal valor. It would shape the memory of Ramesses II more than any other campaign, transforming a near disaster into a legend of heroism. It would also give rise to something unprecedented, a formal peace between rival empires, sealed not by fear alone, but by mutual recognition of strength. To understand the Battle of Kadesh is to peer into a moment when the ancient world reached the height of its military sophistication and stood on the threshold of diplomatic innovation. It is a story of kings and soldiers, of deception and courage, of chaos and control. Above all, it is a story about power, how it is gained, tested, and ultimately restrained. The road to Kadesh was paved with ambition, rivalry, and history itself. And once the chariots began to move, there would be no turning back. Long before armies gathered on the plains of the Orontes, the conflict that would culminate at Kadesh had already been unfolding quietly across generations. It moved through treaties signed and broken, through cities that changed allegiance without a single sword drawn, and through the ambitions of kings who understood that power in the Bronze Age was never static. The Levant was not merely a frontier between empires. It was a living, contested landscape where loyalty shifted with the seasons and survival depended on choosing the right master at the right moment. Egypt's northern expansion had deep roots. For centuries, the Nile kingdom had looked inward, protected by deserts and seas that shielded it from invasion. This isolation bred stability, but also vulnerability when foreign powers grew strong beyond its borders. The shock of the Hyksos invasion centuries earlier left a lasting scar on Egyptian political memory. When native rule was restored, Egypt transformed itself into an outward-looking military state. The pharaohs of the new kingdom vowed never again to allow hostile powers to approach the Nile unchecked. The answer was preemptive dominance. Egypt would control the lands to its north, not as distant colonies, but as a protective belt of allied and subjugated cities. Canaan and southern Mesopotamia became the proving grounds of this new imperial vision. Egyptian armies marched repeatedly through these regions, imposing order, extracting tribute, and installing loyal rulers. Cities such as Megiddo, Byblos, and Ugarit became nodes in a vast diplomatic network that linked local kings to the pharaoh through oaths, marriages, and the exchange of gifts. Yet, Egyptian control was rarely absolute. Garrisons were thin, communication slow, and loyalty often pragmatic rather than heartfelt. The moment Egyptian armies withdrew, local rulers reassessed their options. To the north, another power was rising with equal determination. The Hittites, once a loose collection of Anatolian states, forged unity through conquest and diplomacy. From their capital at Hattusa, they built an empire that rivaled Egypt in scale and sophistication. Unlike Egypt, whose power flowed outward from a single fertile river valley, the Hittite realm was a mosaic of regions, each with its own traditions and leaders. Governing such diversity required flexibility. The Hittites mastered treaty-making, codifying obligations between overlord and vassal with remarkable precision. Their diplomatic archives reveal a world governed as much by negotiation as by force. As Hittite influence pushed southward, it inevitably collided with Egyptian interests. The collapse of Mitanni, once a powerful buffer state between the two empires, removed the last obstacle preventing direct confrontation. Former Mitanni territories became prizes to be claimed, and cities that once balanced between multiple powers were forced to choose sides. Kadesh stood at the center of this struggle. Situated along the Orontes River, it commanded access between inland Syria and the Mediterranean coast. Caravans passed through its gates carrying timber from Lebanon, metals from Anatolia, and goods destined for Egypt's workshops and temples. Control of Kadesh meant leverage over trade, diplomacy, and military movement. It was a city that could not be ignored. When Egypt held it, Hittite ambitions in the south were constrained. When the Hittites held it, Egyptian influence in Syria was effectively checked. This made Kadesh a focal point of repeated campaigns and political maneuvering. It changed hands more than once, not always through open warfare, but often through shifting alliances and calculated betrayals. The generation before Ramesses II witnessed these tensions intensify. His father, Seti I, was an experienced warrior king who understood both the promise and fragility of Egyptian power in Asia. Seti led campaigns into Syria, briefly capturing Kadesh and proclaiming victory. Egyptian reliefs celebrated this achievement, yet the triumph proved fleeting. As soon as Egyptian forces withdrew, Hittite pressure returned. Kadesh slipped once more from Egyptian grasp, underscoring a hard truth. Military success without sustained control meant little in a region where loyalties were fluid. This lesson was not lost on Ramesses II. When he ascended the throne, he inherited not only an empire, but an unresolved contest. Egypt's prestige demanded action. To leave Kadesh in Hittite hands was to accept a diminished role in the affairs of the Near East. For a young pharaoh eager to assert his authority, such acceptance was unthinkable. Ramesses framed his reign as a renewal of Egyptian strength, a return to the heroic age of conquerors whose names echoed through temple halls. At the same time, the Hittite king Muwatalli II faced pressures of his own. His empire was vast, but its cohesion depended on constant vigilance. Vassal states watched closely for signs of weakness. A failure to defend Kadesh would signal vulnerability and invite rebellion. Moreover, the Hittites were aware of Egypt's ideological approach to warfare. Egyptian kings did not simply fight. They proclaimed divine mandate. A successful Egyptian campaign in Syria would not stop at Kadesh. It would unravel Hittite influence city by city. Thus, both rulers moved toward confrontation not out of recklessness, but necessity. Diplomacy had reached its limits. Treaties could be broken, alliances reversed, but geography remained immutable. As long as Egypt and Hatti sought dominance over the same corridor of land, war was inevitable. The stage was set by the time Ramesses launched his campaign northward in the 5th year of his reign. This was not a reckless advance, but a calculated demonstration of force. The Egyptian army marched with banners flying, its divisions named for gods who symbolized protection and victory. The movement itself was a message to allies and enemies alike. Egypt had returned to Syria in strength. Yet beneath the confidence lay uncertainty. Intelligence in the ancient world was fragile, dependent on scouts, messengers, and the testimony of travelers whose loyalty was often questionable. Both sides engaged in deception, spreading rumors and false reports to mislead the enemy. The Levant became a landscape of whispers as much as armies, where information could decide the fate of empires. As Ramesses advanced toward Kadesh, Muwatalli prepared his response with equal care. He did not intend to meet the Egyptians in a straightforward contest of strength. Instead, he planned to exploit their assumptions, their confidence, and the very momentum of their advance. Kadesh was not merely a fortress, it was a trap waiting to be sprung. The world before Kadesh, then, was one of mounting tension, shaped by decades of rivalry and ambition. Every road, every alliance, every rumor carried weight. When the two armies finally converged, they would bring with them not only weapons and soldiers, but the accumulated pressures of an entire geopolitical system on the brink of collision. As the 13th century BCE advanced, the Near East became a tightly wound web of power in which no single thread could be pulled without disturbing the whole. Egypt and the Hittite Empire did not exist in isolation. They were bound to a constellation of lesser kingdoms, trading cities, and semi-autonomous states whose survival depended on navigating between competing giants. These smaller powers did not merely react to imperial pressure, they actively shaped it. Their choices, betrayals, and appeals for protection sharpened the rivalry that would ultimately erupt at Kadesh. The Levant was a land of intermediaries. Its rulers understood that allegiance was rarely permanent and that survival lay in adaptability. A city might swear loyalty to Egypt one year, send tribute to Hatti the next, and negotiate with both simultaneously if circumstances allowed. Such duplicity was not seen as immoral, but pragmatic. Geography placed these cities between empires, and neutrality was often impossible. Every shift in allegiance carried consequences, drawing imperial armies closer and tightening the spiral toward war. Trade was the lifeblood of this region, and trade followed stability. Egyptian gold, Nubian ivory, cedar from Lebanon, and tin from distant lands flowed through Syrian corridors. Whoever controlled these routes could reward allies and punish enemies with economic force as much as military might. For Egypt, dominance in Syria meant access to materials unavailable along the Nile. For the Hittites, it meant securing supply lines that sustained their armies and reinforced their authority over vassals. The economic stakes of Kadesh were immense. though rarely stated outright in royal proclamations, that preferred the language of honor and divine will. Religion further intensified the rivalry. Both empires believed their gods actively intervened in human affairs. Egyptian ideology cast the pharaoh as the living embodiment of divine order, responsible for maintaining balance in the universe. War, when sanctioned by the gods, became a sacred duty. Victory confirmed divine favor. Defeat demanded explanation, often reframed as a moral or cosmic trial rather than a failure of leadership. The Hittites held a similarly profound belief in divine oversight, though expressed through a pantheon of gods bound by oaths and treaties. For them, the gods were witnesses to political agreements, enforcers of justice, and guarantors of legitimacy. Breaking a treaty was not merely a political act, but a religious transgression. This worldview shaped Hittite diplomacy and later influenced the framing of peace after Kadesh, where mutual obligations were sworn before the gods of both nations. Against this ideological backdrop, Ramesses II cultivated an image of unassailable strength. His early reign was marked by a flurry of building projects and inscriptions designed to project continuity with Egypt's golden age. Yet beneath the grandeur lay an urgent need to prove himself. Ramesses was young when he took the throne, and his authority depended on action. A successful campaign in Syria would silence doubt, secure loyalty at home, and broadcast Egypt's supremacy abroad. Muwatalli II, by contrast, ruled an empire that demanded constant balancing. His authority rested on managing a coalition of regions with differing priorities. He could not afford reckless aggression, but neither could he tolerate Egyptian encroachment. His strategy reflected this reality. Rather than seeking a dramatic conquest of Egyptian territory, he aimed to contain Egypt, to halt its advance at a defensible line. Kadesh was that line. Both kings understood that perception mattered as much as reality. Even a limited defeat could ripple outward, encouraging rebellion and eroding alliances. Thus, the coming confrontation carried stakes far beyond the battlefield. It would determine not only territorial control, but the psychological balance of power across the Near East. As Ramesses' army marched north, the movement itself became a diplomatic signal. Allies watched carefully, gauging whether Egypt's confidence was justified. Some prepared to support the pharaoh openly. Others hedged their bets, waiting to see which way the wind would blow. The Hittites, aware of this scrutiny, moved to demonstrate their own resolve. Muwatalli assembled a coalition army drawn from across his empire, reinforcing the message that Hatti would not stand alone. This convergence of forces transformed Kadesh into more than a military objective. It became a stage upon which the future of imperial relations would be decided. The land around the city bore the marks of preparation. Roads cleared for movement, supplies gathered, scouts dispatched to monitor every approach. The Orontes River, winding through the plain, would serve both as a natural barrier and a tactical feature, shaping the flow of battle. Yet for all the planning and anticipation, uncertainty remained the defining feature of the moment. Ancient warfare lacked the centralized communication and rapid intelligence of later eras. Decisions were made based on fragmentary reports and assumptions that could prove fatally wrong. Both sides sought advantage through deception, knowing that misleading the enemy could be as effective as overwhelming force. In this atmosphere of tension and expectation, the final steps toward confrontation unfolded. Ramesses believed he was advancing into a relatively empty field, his enemy distant and unprepared. Muwatalli believed the Egyptians were walking into a carefully laid snare. Each interpretation reflected confidence, and each contained the seeds of disaster. The world before Kadesh was thus a world poised on the brink. Empires had reached the limits of expansion without direct conflict. Diplomacy had been stretched thin, alliances strained, and ambitions sharpened. When the first chariots crossed the Orontes and the first horns sounded across the plain, they would carry with them the weight of decades of rivalry and the expectations of civilizations that believed their gods watched closely. The stage was complete. The armies were in motion, and the ancient world was about to witness one of its most consequential confrontations. When the armies of Egypt and the Hittite Empire moved toward Kadesh, they did so as the most sophisticated military forces the Bronze Age had yet produced. These were not tribal levies hastily assembled, nor temporary war bands bound only by plunder. They were standing armies shaped by tradition, ritual, and institutional memory. Behind every spear and chariot stood a state capable of feeding, equipping, and commanding thousands of men far from home. War at Kadesh was not chaos unleashed. It was order pushed to its limits. At the heart of the Egyptian host stood Ramesses II himself, not merely as commander, but as the symbolic axis upon which the army turned. In Egyptian ideology, the pharaoh was not one general among many. He was the living link between gods and men, the guarantor of cosmic balance. When Ramesses rode at the head of his army, he did so as the embodiment of divine will. His presence alone was believed to secure victory, and his survival was inseparable from the survival of Egypt itself. Ramesses cultivated this image deliberately. He trained from youth in the arts of war, mastering archery, chariotry, and command. Court inscriptions praised his strength and speed, depicting him as a warrior without equal. Whether these claims reflected reality mattered less than belief. Soldiers who followed Ramesses believed they marched behind a king chosen by the gods, and that belief could sustain morale even in moments of fear. The Egyptian army was divided into large formations known as divisions, each named after a major god. These divisions were not symbolic alone. They reflected a system of organization that allowed the army to move, camp, and fight in coordinated units. Each division contained infantry, chariots, officers, scribes, and logistical support. The naming of divisions after gods reinforced the sense that each formation marched under divine protection. Egyptian infantry formed the backbone of the army. They were equipped with shields of layered hide, spears tipped with bronze, short swords, and daggers. Many carried bows, and Egyptian archers were renowned across the Near East for their accuracy and discipline. These soldiers were not conscripts pulled reluctantly from the fields. Many were professionals, veterans of earlier campaigns, accustomed to long marches and harsh conditions. Others were drawn from allied regions, men whose loyalty was secured through obligation or reward rather than shared identity. The chariot corps represented the elite of Egyptian military power. Light, fast, and deadly, Egyptian chariots were designed for mobility rather than shock. Built of wood and leather, drawn by swift horses, they carried two men, a driver and a warrior, usually an archer. This pairing allowed the chariot to function as a mobile firing platform, harassing enemy formations, breaking cohesion, and exploiting gaps. Speed was their greatest asset. They could strike and withdraw before heavier forces could respond. Yet speed came at a cost. Egyptian chariots were lightly protected. In close combat against heavier vehicles or dense infantry, they were vulnerable. Their effectiveness depended on coordination, space, and momentum. When used properly, they dominated open terrain. When caught unprepared, they could be destroyed with alarming speed. Opposing them was the Hittite army, shaped by a different strategic philosophy. Where Egyptian warfare emphasized speed, maneuver, and individual heroism, the Hittites favored mass, discipline, and decisive force. Their chariots were heavier, larger, and designed to deliver crushing blows. Each Hittite chariot carried 3 men, a driver, a warrior, and a shield bearer. This configuration transformed the vehicle into a mobile assault unit capable of smashing through infantry lines and engaging in close combat. The Hittite chariot corps was the pride of the empire. Its horses were bred for strength rather than speed, and its crews trained to operate in dense formations. When deployed en masse, Hittite chariots functioned as a shock force, overwhelming opponents through sheer momentum. Against lighter chariots, they were formidable. Against infantry caught in the open, they were devastating. Hittite infantry complemented this power with numbers and resilience. Armed with spears, axes, and shields, they advanced behind the chariot assault, consolidating gains and holding ground. Unlike the Egyptians, who often emphasized the role of the pharaoh in battle narratives, Hittite command was more collective. Authority flowed from the king, but was delegated through a hierarchy of officers and allied commanders. This allowed for flexibility, especially when coordinating forces drawn from multiple regions. Muwatalli II understood these strengths and built his strategy around them. He knew that a frontal clash against a fully prepared Egyptian army might prove costly. Instead, he sought to exploit timing and terrain. His army included contingents from across the Hittite sphere: Anatolian warriors, Syrian allies, and mercenaries whose experience in local conditions proved invaluable. This diversity was both a strength and a challenge, requiring careful coordination to prevent confusion. Religion also shaped the Hittite approach to war. Before battle, oaths were sworn and rituals performed to secure divine favor. The gods were invoked not only as protectors, but as witnesses. Victory affirmed legitimacy. Defeat demanded appeasement. This sense of accountability influenced command decisions, reinforcing caution even amid aggression. As both armies approached Kadesh, the contrast between them became increasingly stark. The Egyptians advanced with confidence, their divisions marching in ordered sequence, banners raised high. The Hittites waited, concealed and patient, their strength gathered just beyond sight. Each side believed its doctrine superior. Each trusted in its king, its gods, and its machines of war. The soldiers themselves felt the weight of expectation. For many, this was not their first campaign, but few had faced an enemy of comparable power. Stories circulated through the ranks, exaggerating the strength of the opposing army or the cunning of its king. Fear and anticipation mingled with pride. To fight at Kadesh was to stand at the center of the world's attention, even if the soldiers themselves could not fully grasp the historical significance of the moment. As the distance between the two forces narrowed, the instruments of war took on a life of their own. Chariots were inspected and repaired, horses fed and calmed, weapons sharpened. Officers issued final instructions. Scouts rode ahead and returned with reports that would shape critical decisions. In these final hours before contact, the fate of empires hung on preparation, discipline, and judgment. What neither side could fully foresee was how quickly order could dissolve once battle began, and how the very strengths they relied upon could become vulnerabilities under the pressure of surprise and confusion. Beyond the visible splendor of chariots and banners lay the deeper machinery that sustained the armies moving toward Kadesh. War in the Bronze Age was not merely an act of violence, but a vast logistical undertaking. demanding foresight, coordination, and an acceptance of immense risk. Every soldier who marched north carried not only weapons, but dependence on supply lines that stretched for hundreds of miles, on officers who interpreted distant orders, and on a king whose judgment would determine whether they lived or died. The Egyptian army operated as an extension of the state itself. Grain, dried meat, beer, and water followed the columns in organized supply trains. Scribes recorded rations, tallied equipment, and documented the movement of men and animals. This bureaucratic precision was one of Egypt's great strengths. It allowed armies to campaign far from the Nile for extended periods, maintaining cohesion even under strain. Yet bureaucracy also bred rigidity. Orders traveled slowly, and once divisions were committed to a route or timetable, altering plans could prove difficult. Command within the Egyptian army flowed downward from the pharaoh. While experienced officers led divisions and units, ultimate authority rested with Ramesses alone. This centralized structure reinforced loyalty and unity, but it also concentrated risk. If the pharaoh misjudged the situation, or if he were isolated, the entire army could be thrown into confusion. Egyptian ideology assumed the king's presence guaranteed success. The possibility that the king himself might be endangered was almost unthinkable. Yet at Kadesh, this assumption would be tested brutally. The Hittite military system approached command differently. While the king remained supreme, authority was distributed among trusted nobles and allied leaders. This reflected the empire's federated nature. Many Hittite units were raised from vassal states, each contributing troops according to treaty obligations. These contingents retained their own leaders, languages, and customs, unified under the overarching command of the Hittite king. This structure allowed for flexibility and mass mobilization, but it also demanded careful coordination to prevent fragmentation during battle. Logistics posed a constant challenge for the Hittites. Unlike Egypt, whose heartland lay along a predictable river system, the Hittite Empire spanned rugged terrain and variable climates. Supplying a massive army in Syria required advanced preparation, stockpiling resources near the front, and securing cooperation from local populations. Muwatalli's decision to gather his forces near Kadesh was not arbitrary. The region offered access to water, forage for horses, and defensible positions from which to strike. Espionage played an increasingly central role as the armies drew closer. Scouts probed enemy movements, messengers carried rumors as often as facts, and deliberate misinformation was spread to distort perception. In this shadow war, truth became a weapon. A single false report could misdirect an army or create a fatal sense of security. Both sides understood this, and both sought to exploit it. The psychological dimension of warfare weighed heavily on soldiers and commanders alike. Marching toward an enemy of equal strength produced a tension unlike earlier campaigns against weaker foes. Veterans remembered past victories and defeats, recounting stories around campfires that blended truth with exaggeration. Younger soldiers listened in silence, grappling with fear and anticipation. Religious rituals offered reassurance. Priests invoked gods to bless the army, interpret omens, and promise divine protection. These ceremonies reinforced morale, but they also heightened the sense that failure carried cosmic consequences. Horses, the engines of chariot warfare, required particular care. They were valuable, temperamental, and vulnerable. Grooms tended them constantly, checking harnesses, soothing nerves, and ensuring they were fed and watered. A panicked horse could doom a chariot crew as surely as enemy weapons. The bond between charioteer and horse was intimate, forged through training and trust. In battle, this bond could mean the difference between escape and death. Weapons themselves bore symbolic as well as practical significance. Bronze blades gleamed not only as tools of killing, but as emblems of status. Shields were painted with symbols meant to inspire allies and terrify enemies. Chariots were adorned with motifs invoking protection and dominance. Every detail reinforced the identity of the warrior and the cause he served. As the moment of confrontation approached, both kings faced the same dilemma: how to translate preparation into victory. Muwatalli favored patience and surprise. He positioned his forces carefully, concealing their true strength and allowing the Egyptians to advance under false assumptions. His strategy relied on timing, on striking when the enemy was vulnerable and divided. This approach reflected Hittite pragmatism and a willingness to let the enemy make the first mistake. Ramesses, confident in his army and eager for decisive action, pressed forward with determination. He believed speed and momentum would overwhelm resistance. His confidence was reinforced by intelligence reports that suggested the Hittite army was far away. Whether this information was accepted uncritically or shaped by desire remains uncertain, but it influenced every subsequent decision. The human cost of these choices was borne by the soldiers themselves. Infantrymen marched beneath the sun, armor chafing, feet blistered, minds racing with imagined futures. Chariot crews rehearsed maneuvers, visualizing the chaos they would soon enter. Officers balanced duty with doubt, aware that obedience might lead to glory or catastrophe. In these final hours before battle, silence often fell across the camps. The clatter of preparation gave way to stillness as men confronted their own mortality. Some prayed quietly, others sharpened weapons again and again, as if the act itself could impose control over fate. The land around Kadesh, calm and indifferent, awaited the storm. When dawn broke and movement resumed, the stage was set for a confrontation shaped as much by human perception as by steel and horsepower. The armies carried with them not only the power of their empires, but the vulnerabilities inherent in command, communication, and belief. At Kadesh, these elements would collide with devastating force. The plains around Kadesh stretched wide beneath a cloudless sky as dawn broke on the morning of what would become one of the most famous battles of antiquity. A faint chill still hung in the air, and the dry earth bore the impressions of countless footsteps and hooves, a silent testament to the armies that had converged from distant lands. For weeks, the Egyptian army had moved north, their banners fluttering proudly, their ranks disciplined and confident. Ramesses II rode at their forefront, embodying both king and warrior, his resolve unshaken by the challenges that lay ahead. On this morning, the Egyptian forces prepared to cross the Orontes River and engage a foe whose strength they underestimated. Ramesses believed the Hittite army to be far behind, still gathering its forces or hesitant to confront him directly. Reports from scouts seemed to confirm this, feeding a sense of assurance within the Egyptian camp. Yet beneath this confidence lay a critical vulnerability. The Hittites, concealed beyond the rugged hills and dense forests, were poised for a calculated strike. The Hittite king Muwatalli II had planned meticulously. He understood that the Egyptians' advance through unfamiliar territory and reliance on inaccurate intelligence left them exposed. His chariot corps, supported by infantry and allied contingents, lay in wait in concealed positions along the likely path of Egyptian movement. The plan was to strike swiftly and decisively before the Egyptians could establish camp or deploy in battle formation. As the Egyptian divisions moved forward, the calm of the morning was shattered by the distant thunder of hooves. Hittite chariots, heavier and more numerous than the Egyptians expected, burst from their hiding places like a wave unleashed. The first shock was devastating. Egyptian scouts and forward units were overwhelmed, thrown into confusion by the sudden onslaught. Ramesses found himself at the center of chaos as his advance guard was swept aside. Caught off guard, the Egyptian army struggled to regroup. Ramesses, far from paralyzed by surprise, demonstrated the leadership that would define his legacy. Rallying nearby troops, he organized a defensive stand near the city of Kadesh itself. The pharaoh took up his bow and spear, directing counterattacks and personally engaging the enemy. His presence reinvigorated the soldiers, inspiring them to hold ground despite the ferocity of the Hittite assault. The battle quickly devolved into a series of fierce engagements across the plain. Chariots clashed in thunderous collisions, archers exchanged volleys of arrows, and infantrymen fought desperately to maintain their positions. The Egyptian light chariots, faster but less armored, sought to harass and outmaneuver the heavier Hittite vehicles. Meanwhile, Hittite chariot crews pressed their advantage, attempting to break the Egyptian lines with powerful charges. Amidst the tumult, the Nearin, mercenary infantry often employed by Egypt, played a critical role. Skilled and battle-hardened, these troops helped stabilize faltering Egyptian units, buying time for reinforcements to arrive. The battle became a brutal test of endurance, discipline, and leadership. Neither side yielded easily, and the cost in lives mounted rapidly. Communication across the battlefield was chaotic. The Egyptian army's reliance on centralized command became both a strength and a liability. Orders from Ramesses had to be carried across noisy, smoke-filled fields, sometimes arriving too late or misunderstood. Yet despite these challenges, the pharaoh's presence and decisiveness prevented the collapse that might have turned the battle into a rout. The Hittites, while executing a successful initial ambush, also faced difficulties. Their forces were diverse and spread across a wide front. Coordinating attacks among different contingents required skill and discipline. Moreover, their heavier chariots, though powerful, were less maneuverable on the broken terrain near Kadesh. As the Egyptians rallied, the battle became a grinding contest rather than a swift conquest. For hours, the battle swung back and forth. Victories were temporary. Ground gained was often lost in counterattacks. Ramesses, determined to turn the tide, led personal charges against key Hittite positions. His actions were recorded in Egyptian reliefs as moments of near-divine heroism, portraying the pharaoh as a lion among men, facing danger without hesitation. Whether fully accurate or part of royal propaganda, these accounts reflect a leader who understood that his fate and that of Egypt depended on personal courage as much as strategy. As the sun climbed higher, exhaustion weighed on both armies. Horses faltered, soldiers' armor grew heavy with sweat, and wounds mounted. The heat of the day added to the misery of battle, sapping strength and focus. Yet neither side showed signs of surrender. By late afternoon, the fighting began to taper, not due to clear victory, but because both sides reached the limits of endurance and resources. The Hittites, despite their initial success, found themselves unable to decisively break the Egyptian formations. The Egyptians, though battered and bloodied, maintained control of key positions around Kadesh. The battle concluded not with a triumphant charge or a retreat, but with a mutual withdrawal. Both armies bore heavy losses and retreated to regroup. The land around Kadesh, once marked by movement and thunder, returned to an uneasy silence broken only by the groans of the wounded and the distant calls of ravens. In the immediate aftermath, both Egypt and the Hittites claimed victory. Egyptian inscriptions celebrated Ramesses' valor and the prevention of Hittite conquest. Hittite records emphasized their successful ambush and the heavy casualties inflicted on the Egyptians. The truth, however, lay in the stalemate. A battle that resolved little, but revealed the limits of power and the costs of imperial rivalry. As the afternoon sun beat down relentlessly upon the shattered plains near Kadesh, the battle reached a pivotal phase that would decide the future of the conflict. Not through the outright defeat of one side, but through a brutal test of resilience, strategy, and willpower. The initial Hittite ambush, though spectacularly effective, had failed to achieve a decisive breakthrough. Ramesses II, rallying his scattered forces with extraordinary leadership, was beginning to turn the tide in the face of overwhelming odds. The Egyptian divisions, despite being caught off guard, demonstrated remarkable discipline. Soldiers who had moments before faced collapse now regrouped under the watchful eye of their king and his officers. Ramesses himself took personal command of critical sectors, leading charges to repel advancing Hittite chariots and stabilize faltering lines. His presence on the battlefield was more than symbolic. It was catalytic, reigniting the fighting spirit of men who had seen comrades fall and feared the wrath of the enemy. Crucial to this counteroffensive was the arrival of reinforcements from the Egyptian 2nd Division, known as the Amun Division, which had been trailing behind the forward forces. This division, moving more cautiously due to the uncertain terrain and the lack of clear intelligence, found itself racing against time to reach the embattled front. Their timely intervention relieved pressure on the core Egyptian units, allowing them to regroup and push back against the Hittite momentum. The battle transformed into a fierce, grinding contest marked by repeated charges and countercharges. Egyptian chariotry, though lighter and more vulnerable, used their superior speed to harass and disrupt the heavier Hittite vehicles. Skilled archers supported these maneuvers, raining arrows down upon advancing Hittites and forcing them to break formation. Yet the Hittites' massed infantry and powerful chariot corps remained formidable. Their heavier armor and three-man chariot crews capable of delivering punishing blows in close quarters. Amid the smoke and dust, Ramesses demonstrated tactical flexibility that contrasted sharply with the rigid expectations of centralized command. When one flank threatened to collapse, he personally redirected forces, improvising as the battle unfolded unpredictably. His actions suggest a leader not only confident, but also acutely aware of the fragile balance between victory and disaster. The Hittite king Muwatalli II, despite initial success, found his forces strained by the protracted engagement. The wide diversity of his army, drawn from Anatolia, Syria, and other vassal states, posed coordination challenges amid the chaos. Maintaining discipline under continuous counterattacks tested the cohesion of his multi-ethnic force. Nevertheless, Hittite commanders remained committed to exploiting any Egyptian weakness, launching repeated charges aimed at breaking the enemy's resolve. The terrain around Kadesh complicated both armies' efforts. While the plains allowed chariot maneuvers, scattered hills, wadis, dry riverbeds, and the Orontes River itself created natural obstacles. Horses struggled on uneven ground, and units risked fragmentation when forced to maneuver in tight spaces. These physical challenges compounded the human exhaustion felt by combatants who had been fighting in intense heat for hours. Throughout the afternoon, the ebb and flow of battle continued without a clear victor. The Egyptian forces managed to hold their ground near Kadesh and prevent the Hittites from overrunning the city. Conversely, the Hittites maintained control of surrounding territories, denying Egypt a decisive conquest. Both sides suffered heavy casualties, with countless soldiers wounded or dead on the field. Amidst this relentless fighting, the psychological strain was immense. Soldiers on both sides witnessed horrors that tested their courage. Comrades struck down suddenly, horses panicked and threw their riders, and chariots shattered in collisions. The din of battle, the clash of bronze, the screams of the wounded, the cries of commanders, created an overwhelming sensory assault that blurred moments of clarity and confusion alike. Religious observances and omens remained integral even in the heat of combat. Egyptian priests within the ranks conducted rites to invoke the protection of gods like Amun and Seth, seeking divine favor amid the chaos. The Hittites too turned to their pantheon, offering prayers and sacrifices that underscored the battle's cosmic significance. Both armies believed that the outcome reflected not just human skill, but the will of the divine. As daylight waned, it became clear to both Ramesses and Muwatalli that continuing the fight risked catastrophic losses without guaranteeing victory. Exhaustion, dwindling supplies, and the need to preserve their armies for future campaigns forced a grim decision: to disengage before the battlefield turned into a slaughter. The withdrawal was executed under tense conditions, with both sides wary of renewed attacks. Egyptian units carefully fell back toward fortified positions around Kadesh, while the Hittites pulled their forces into defensible encampments nearby. The cessation of open fighting did not signal peace, but a grudging acknowledgement of a stalemate that neither king could ignore. The immediate aftermath was marked by mutual claims of triumph. Egyptian reliefs and texts celebrated Ramesses' personal bravery and framed the battle as a great victory in which Egypt repelled the invaders. The Hittites, through their own records, highlighted the success of their ambush and the heavy toll inflicted on the Egyptian army. Modern historians recognize this as a classic example of ancient propaganda, each side shaping the narrative to bolster prestige and morale. Strategically, the Battle of Kadesh left the contested region unresolved. Egypt maintained its presence near Kadesh, but failed to wrest full control from the Hittites. The Hittites held their southern frontier, but did not push into Egyptian-held territories. The fighting set the stage for prolonged tension rather than conquest. Yet from this indecisive conflict emerged one of the earliest known peace treaties in history, a remarkable diplomatic achievement that acknowledged the limits of war and the necessity of negotiation. The treaty, concluded decades after the battle between Ramesses II and Hattusili III, Muwatalli's successor, formalized boundaries and pledged mutual non-aggression, a testament to the enduring impact of the Battle of Kadesh on international relations. The battle also left a profound imprint on collective memory. Egyptian temples across the land were adorned with intricate reliefs portraying Ramesses as a heroic figure, immortalizing moments of valor and divine favor. These images shaped Egyptian identity for centuries, reinforcing the ideal of the warrior pharaoh who could face chaos and emerge triumphant. In the Hittite realm, the battle served as a cautionary tale about the dangers of overextension and the importance of alliance management. While the conflict did not bring immediate conquest, it demonstrated the empire's resilience and capacity to challenge one of history's greatest powers. The Battle of Kadesh, therefore, was neither a decisive victory nor a simple defeat. It was a defining moment when two great civilizations met on equal terms, testing the limits of their military art and political ambition. Its legacy transcends the battlefield, offering insight into the nature of power, the interplay of war and diplomacy, and the enduring human struggle to control fate in a world shaped by forces both mortal and divine. The Battle of Kadesh did not end with a grand, unmistakable victory for either side, but its aftermath shaped the political landscape of the ancient Near East for generations. The immediate military stalemate left the contested city and surrounding territories in a state of uneasy limbo. Neither Egypt nor the Hittites could claim outright control of the region, yet neither could afford to relinquish their claims without appearing weak. This impasse was the crucible in which the first great diplomatic peace treaty of recorded history was eventually forged. Following the battle, Ramesses II returned to Egypt, bearing the scars of the campaign, but also a renewed determination to secure his empire's northern frontiers. Egyptian inscriptions glorify the pharaoh's heroism and divine favor during the battle, presenting it as a monumental victory in which Ramesses personally vanquished his enemies. These proclamations served multiple purposes: consolidating internal support, reinforcing the pharaoh's legitimacy, and deterring potential challengers by projecting strength. Temples in Karnak and Abu Simbel were adorned with elaborate reliefs depicting scenes of the battle, a vivid visual narrative that immortalized the king's valor and the army's perseverance. However, behind this grand narrative lay the political realities of a protracted conflict. Egypt's hold over Kadesh and Syria remained tenuous. Maintaining garrisons in hostile or semi-allied cities required constant vigilance and resources. The cost of occupation weighed heavily on Egypt's treasury and manpower. Moreover, the loyalty of local rulers was often conditional and fickle, influenced by shifting alliances and the immediate military balance. Ramesses understood that sustained military campaigns were costly and that political stability demanded diplomatic solutions alongside warfare. On the Hittite side, Muwatalli II and his successors also faced the challenges of governing a vast and diverse empire. The battle demonstrated the effectiveness of their military forces, but also exposed vulnerabilities, particularly in coordinating multi-ethnic armies across difficult terrain. The loss of direct control over Kadesh itself was a blow, but the ability to check Egyptian advances prevented further erosion of Hittite influence in Syria. For the Hittites, the battle reinforced the necessity of strategic diplomacy to manage the region's complex political dynamics. The protracted tension following the battle culminated decades later in a historic peace treaty, signed around 1259 BCE between Ramesses II and Hattusili III, Muwatalli's successor. This treaty marked a significant milestone in international relations. Unlike previous wars that ended in outright conquest or collapse, this agreement recognized mutual sovereignty, established clear boundaries, and committed both empires to non-aggression and mutual assistance in the face of external threats. The treaty's language reveals a deep understanding of realpolitik in the ancient world. Both sides acknowledge the costs of endless conflict and the value of peace founded on reciprocity and respect. The agreement invoked the gods of Egypt and Hatti as witnesses, binding the parties with divine authority and emphasizing the sacredness of their commitments. This blending of religious and political obligation was characteristic of the time and underscored the profound connection between faith and diplomacy. In practical terms, the treaty secured a buffer zone in Syria, reducing the likelihood of immediate military confrontations. It facilitated the establishment of trade routes and diplomatic exchanges, allowing both empires to focus resources on internal development and other external threats. The agreement also set a precedent for later international treaties, influencing diplomatic practices well beyond the Bronze Age. The legacy of the Battle of Kadesh extended far beyond the battlefield or the treaty halls. In Egypt, Ramesses II's self-portrayal as the victorious warrior king shaped the cultural memory of his reign and influenced the conception of kingship for centuries. The visual and textual records created in his honor became foundational narratives of Egyptian identity and power, These depictions emphasize not only military prowess, but the pharaoh's role as a divine protector of order against chaos. For the Hittites, the battle and its aftermath highlighted the limits of expansion and the importance of diplomacy in empire building. Their ability to negotiate peace with a rival as formidable as Egypt demonstrated political maturity and strategic foresight. Hittite texts and archives reflect a sophisticated understanding of international relations, balancing military strength with legal and ceremonial processes. The battle's significance also lies in its contribution to our understanding of Bronze Age warfare. Thanks largely to Egyptian sources, historians have gained unparalleled insight into the organization, tactics, and psychological dimensions of ancient combat. The detailed reliefs and poetic texts preserved at temples serve as both historical documents and works of art, revealing the complexity of military life and the cultural meanings embedded in war. Archaeological investigations near Kadesh, while inconclusive regarding the precise location and scale of the battle, have added to the broader picture of the region's strategic importance. The city's position along key trade routes and its repeated appearance in diplomatic correspondence underline its central role in the political and economic struggles of the time. Ultimately, the Battle of Kadesh stands as a testament to the intricate interplay of war, politics, and diplomacy in the ancient world. It was not simply a clash of armies, but a convergence of competing ambitions, cultural identities, and historical forces that shaped the trajectory of civilizations. Its legacy endures as a reminder that the pursuit of power is often as much about negotiation and compromise as it is about conquest. The peace treaty forged after decades of tension following the Battle of Kadesh represents one of the most remarkable diplomatic achievements of the ancient world, setting a precedent for interstate relations that resonated for centuries. This accord was not simply a cessation of hostilities. It was a comprehensive agreement grounded in mutual recognition, religious solemnity, and pragmatic governance. The treaty, often called the Egyptian-Hittite Peace Treaty, was inscribed in both Egyptian hieroglyphs and Hittite cuneiform, a testament to the unprecedented nature of the agreement and the desire for lasting clarity. The treaty formalized borders that acknowledged the realities on the ground. Egypt maintained control over certain key cities and trade routes in southern Syria, while the Hittites retained their sphere of influence around Kadesh and northern Syria. This division of influence established a buffer zone intended to prevent direct conflict, marking a shift from the territorial ambitions that had fueled previous wars to a more stable and pragmatic coexistence. Both parties agreed to respect these boundaries and to refrain from aggression, with severe penalties invoked in the case of treaty violation, reflecting the seriousness with which the agreement was treated. A striking feature of the treaty was its invocation of the gods as witnesses and enforcers. Both the Egyptian and Hittite pantheons were called upon to oversee the pact, and curses were pronounced on those who might dare to break the terms. This fusion of religion and politics was more than ceremonial. It reinforced the sacred nature of international agreements and reflected a worldview in which divine will governed human affairs. By binding the treaty to the authority of the gods, both empires underscored the enduring consequences of breaking the peace. The treaty also included provisions for mutual assistance. In the event that either party was attacked by a third power, the other was obliged to provide support. This clause transformed the treaty from a mere non-aggression pact into an early form of alliance, designed to deter external threats and stabilize the region. It was a sophisticated recognition of the geopolitical realities of the late Bronze Age, where smaller kingdoms and emerging powers could exploit divisions between great empires. Beyond the immediate diplomatic ramifications, The treaty influenced the political culture of both Egypt and the Hittite Empire. In Egypt, Ramesses II capitalized on the agreement to reinforce his image as a peacemaker and protector of order. His reign, which extended for decades after the treaty, saw a focus on monumental construction and cultural flourishing, supported by the relative security provided through peaceful relations with Hatti. The pharaoh's inscriptions, while still celebrating military valor, increasingly emphasized stability and prosperity under his rule. For the Hittites, the treaty marked a turning point in foreign policy. It demonstrated the effectiveness of diplomacy backed by credible military strength and shaped subsequent interactions with neighboring powers. The Hittites invested in maintaining their sphere of influence through vassalage, marriage alliances, and legal treaties, reflecting a complex and nuanced approach to empire management. The ability to negotiate with Egypt on equal terms elevated Hatti's status as a major player in the international system of the ancient Near East. The legacy of Kadesh extended well beyond the diplomatic realm. The battle became a powerful symbol in both Egyptian and Hittite cultural memory. Egyptian temple reliefs vividly recount the encounter, portraying Ramesses as a heroic figure standing unbowed amid the chaos of war, shooting arrows and rallying his troops. These images serve to inspire loyalty among the Egyptian populace and legitimize the pharaoh's divine kingship. They also provide modern historians with a rare visual record of Bronze Age warfare, illustrating chariot combat, military attire, and battlefield tactics with remarkable detail. Hittite sources, while less visually oriented, preserved narratives and correspondence that reflected on the battle and its aftermath. These documents reveal an empire conscious of the balance of power and the necessity of maintaining diplomatic channels even with fierce rivals. The memory of Kadesh shaped Hittite attitudes toward conflict resolution and contributed to the development of legal traditions that valued treaties and negotiated settlements. Archaeological research around the region has shed light on the broader strategic context of Kadesh. While definitive proof of the battle's exact location remains elusive, discoveries of fortifications, weaponry, and settlement patterns highlight the ongoing contest for control in Syria. The city of Kadesh itself, situated on the Orontes River, continued to be a vital hub in the centuries following the battle, underscoring its enduring importance as a gateway between empires. Moreover, the Battle of Kadesh offers insights into the evolution of ancient warfare and diplomacy. It illustrates how large-scale, organized armies engaged in complex maneuvers long before the classical period. It highlights the significance of intelligence, deception, and leadership under pressure. The battle also exemplifies the limits of military conquest and the rise of diplomacy as a tool for resolving imperial conflicts, a lesson that resonates across history. The cultural and historical significance of Kadesh echoes through time, inspiring later generations to reflect on the nature of power, conflict, and peace. It stands as a testament to human ambition and resilience, as well as to the possibility of reconciliation even after devastating warfare. The battle and its aftermath remind us that history is shaped not only by force of arms, but by the capacity to negotiate, compromise, and envision a shared future. The Battle of Kadesh stands as one of the most iconic and influential confrontations in ancient history, not only for its scale and complexity, but also for the profound ways in which it shaped the political, military, and cultural landscapes of the Bronze Age world. More than 3 millennia later, its echoes resonate as a pivotal moment when the ancient empires of Egypt and the Hittites tested their limits, ambitions, and ultimately, their capacity for coexistence. At its core, the battle was a manifestation of competing imperial ambitions. Both Egypt and the Hittite Empire sought control over Syria, and the vital trade routes that coursed through the region. Arteries that promised wealth, strategic advantage, and the projection of power. Kadesh was not merely a city. It was a symbol of dominance in a contested borderland. The struggle for its control encapsulated broader themes of empire building. The tension between conquest and governance, the risks of overextension, and the necessity of diplomacy. The military engagement itself revealed the sophistication and limitations of Bronze Age warfare. Armies numbering in the tens of thousands, equipped with thousands of chariots, demonstrated unprecedented organizational capacity. The battle showcased the interplay between technology, strategy, and leadership. Egyptian reliance on swift, lightly armed chariots contrasted with the Hittite emphasis on heavier, shock-oriented vehicles. Infantry, mercenaries, archers, and cavalry all played crucial roles in a fluid and chaotic battlefield environment. The confrontation underscored the importance of intelligence, the dangers of deception, and the fragile balance between order and disorder in ancient combat. Ramesses II's leadership during the battle remains legendary. His ability to rally his troops amid an unexpected ambush, to lead from the front, and to maintain cohesion under fire, forged a narrative of courage and divine favor that would define his reign and influence Egyptian identity for centuries. Yet, even his valor could not produce a decisive victory, illustrating the limits of individual heroism when confronted by the realities of massed professional armies. The aftermath of Kadesh carried equal significance. The stalemate forged a new chapter in ancient international relations. The ensuing peace treaty, unprecedented in its detail and mutuality, recognized the need for coexistence and formalized a framework for resolving conflict without perpetual warfare. This agreement was not a mere cessation of hostilities. It embodied a sophisticated understanding of diplomacy, sovereignty, and the role of divine sanction in political affairs. By binding two great powers in mutual respect and obligation, the treaty established a precedent that would influence diplomatic practices for centuries. Beyond politics and war, the cultural impact of Kadesh was profound. Egyptian temples bore testimony to the battle's memory through elaborate reliefs and inscriptions, blending historical record with religious and ideological expression. These images immortalized Ramesses as a warrior king favored by the gods, reinforcing the sacred nature of kingship and the moral order of the state. In the Hittite realm, archival texts and correspondence reflect a conscious engagement with the complexities of empire and diplomacy, contributing to a rich legacy of legal and political thought. Archaeological research continues to illuminate the broader context of Kadesh. While the precise details of the battlefield remain debated, discoveries in the region underscore the strategic importance of Syria as a crossroads of cultures, commerce, and conflict. The city of Kadesh itself endured as a focal point of power struggles, its history entwined with the fortunes of empires that rose and fell over the centuries. The lessons of Kadesh extend beyond its time. The battle highlights enduring themes in the human experience: the ambitions that drive nations to conflict, the costs of war borne by soldiers and civilians alike, and the resilience required to pursue peace amid rivalry. It reminds us that history is not solely shaped by triumph or defeat, but by the complex interplay of power, negotiation, and memory. In contemporary terms, the Battle of Kadesh serves as an early example of the limits of military force and the enduring value of diplomacy. It invites reflection on how civilizations confront existential challenges, balance ambition with pragmatism, and seek stability in a world marked by uncertainty and competition. The story of Kadesh, its clash, stalemate, and eventual peace, offers a timeless narrative about the possibilities and constraints of human endeavor. As the sun sets over the plains where chariots once thundered and armies clashed, the Battle of Kadesh remains a testament to the enduring spirit of history. It embodies the struggle between chaos and order, war and peace, ambition and restraint. Through its legacy, it continues to teach, inspire, and challenge all who seek to understand the intricate tapestry of the past and the ongoing quest for harmony amid conflict. Thank you for watching this deep dive into the Battle of Kadesh, one of history's most remarkable clashes. If you found this exploration of ancient warfare, diplomacy, and the enduring legacy of two empires fascinating, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss future videos. Let us know in the comments what part of the Battle of Kadesh surprised you the most, or if there's another historical event you'd like us to cover. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the stories that shaped our world.